sweet spot, the last time slot of today. So welcome to this panel. We're going to be discussing what is the accelerator's role in an ecosystem. And I'm sitting here with quite some experts, different accelerators from the Nordic countries. And I think, to kick it off, why don't you guys, introduce yourself? Let's start from your class.
Yeah, sure. Claes Radojewski from Gothenburg, Sweden. I run a program at mobilityXlab, who's an incubator or a accelerator or innovation hub within the automotive industry.
My name is Monika Jensen and I work at the BioInnovation Institute. I'm running a business acceleration academy, which is about bringing life science inventions into attractive business case stage.
My name is Jonas. Svegaarden. Thanks for having us, firstly. I run an accelerator in Oslo called Katapult Impact Accelerators. We're looking for companies that have societal or environmental impact by fueling that with tech. So we're a global accelerator based in Oslo.
Okay, just to get a little bit of feeling of the crowd, so how many of you guys are a startup? Can you just raise your hands? So, okay, there is some, cool. Because one of the things that I think I would like to start with is like, the whole question of, the existence of you guys. Why should a startup join your accelerator or just an accelerator in general? Like, I would like to hear maybe if you can answer both at the same time. Monika, why don't you start?
So we are a very special accelerator and we have done our research. There is nothing like that in the world. At this early stage to get so much hands-on support, both financial but also in terms of experts, that brings a lot of value to those cases that they wouldn't start otherwise. We mostly thought about PhDs and postdocs who have some new CRISPR technology and they know nothing and they know nobody, and if not our help, it would just end up being another research paper. And we work with those cases and in 3 months they make amazing progress. Having said that, we obviously focus on startups that need it. It's not that if it's like a design-based idea or if it's social entrepreneurship, then I tell them go somewhere else, go to Republican, go to Copenhagen projects. So it has to be a match, and I think we fill the gap because it takes a lot of investment and Novo Nordisk Foundation has enough power to pull it off.
So you, Jonas, you're in charge of Katapult, the accelerator in Norway, and you have a very specific set of criteria when you look for startups. Can you try to explain that a little, because it is quite different from the other two?
Absolutely. So we're a global accelerator, so we look for startup companies across the globe because we're looking into solving our grand societal and environmental problem, because we find there are very huge opportunities there as investors. So we're a double bottom line. We need to see sustainable economics in the businesses, but the derivative of that is always also making impact on people and planet. So we think that the talent and the solution is not necessarily in Oslo, but it have many shapes and colors across the globe.
So how do you weight, let's say, profitability and impact? Are you weighting them 50-50, or because I could also imagine there was come a lot of startups that is like, oh yeah, we're doing this, but we're just putting a little green touch on it, and therefore we can call ourselves an impact company.
You're touching upon greenwashing. Yeah, but
I didn't say that word.
No,
but
me neither. What we're looking for is, the impact have many shapes and colors, and it's a certain degree, and we got a lot of discussions. Is this really impact? What will happen down the line with this company if it get purchased by an oil company or what? We always want to see a plus sign in front of the impact and scale it from there. So as long as it comes out green,
okay, good to hear.
We're good.
Claes, you have an accelerator in Gothenburg, and Gothenburg is to a certain extent not to offend, but it's a smaller ecosystem than Stockholm and so on. Can you explain a little bit, like, what is your role as an accelerator in that kind of ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. Because much like Jonas, we're a global accelerator. So Gothenburg, of course, small city, like 500,000 living there or something, which means not that many startups. But what we do have is the ecosystem within automotive in Northern Europe or in Europe. So what we do is that we bring international startups. Basically, we do also have Swedish ones, of course, but mainly international startups into our accelerator, where they can get a project leader from each of our partners and do technical validations to make sure that, yeah, this is a technology that works within the mobility, automotive, or connectivity industry. And that's basically what we do. We, in my mind, like the quickest way for a startup scale up to actually scale up is probably to have some kind of partnership with a large industry player within the industry you're trying to get into. And that's what we do. We connect them with the right people.
Is these industry players, are they then local from Gothenburg?
Yeah, they are.
They are.
So we got six of them. You have CVT. Actually, they're owned by a Chinese company, but they're headquartered in Gothenburg. They're the like R&D part of Geely Group, who owns Volvo Cars. Then you have Ericsson, you have Veoneer, who does sensors for autonomous vehicles. Then you have Volvo Cars, Volvo Group, who does trucks and buses. And last but not least, Senuri, who do the software within autonomous vehicles. So all the partners are based in Lindholmen, where we sit. You have walking distance to all their headquarters. So yeah, that's like really good for us, because we do have large engagement from the partners.
Let's talk a little bit about this corporate accelerators, because that's definitely have blown up over the years, right? Where, you know, accelerators in the beginning was started as, you know, a program where you could join, but then the industry players came along, and then suddenly there was a theme, and, you know, then the question is always like, you know, who is the accelerator for? Is it for the corporate, or is it for the startups? And, you know, maybe both of you can answer this.
So it's not a secret that coming out of Novo Nordisk Foundation, there will be a lot of pharma in our portfolio, and I think the reasoning behind it was very sincere. Like the board of Novo Nordisk Foundation went to Boston, Silicon Valley, and they saw all those cool startups, and they asked themselves, like, we are investing so much in research, and we have such excellent research and so much industry. Why don't we have those startups? And then after a thorough analysis, that was a no-brainer. We need some funding. We need a certain go-to place, center of gravity. And this is how our startups were conceived, our initiative. And I have to say, I challenged CEO of Novo Nordisk Foundation. What if one of our startups creates a product that eliminates use of insulin? And she said that that's a luxury problem, and deep down she would be happy if that would happen. So we work with a mission, we work with all the competitors, we work with all kinds of organizations. We are not here to override somebody, we are here to establish strong ecosystem that one day hopefully will not need a place like BII.
Okay. Do you feel that because you are both of you to a certain extent a corporate accelerator, what do you feel is like the biggest motivation for the startups that wants to join? Is it the direct access? Is it, you know, the capital? Is it the, you know?
Yeah, like we just a distinction between us two now. Like we're founded by the corporate partners, but we're actually a non-profit organization. So we're owned by Science Park in Gothenburg, and which means that we don't take any equity stakes, you don't have any fees and so on, so we're not connected to the partners in that sense. Of course they do finance us, but they don't provide any like resources to the startups. Now I lost your question, sorry.
No, it's just like, what is the motivation for
Yeah.
For the startups to join?
Yeah, so for us, it's obviously to get into the partners. Like if you look at the automotive industry, you have huge amounts of startups. You have a lot of buzz. You have a lot of money for them. A lot of financing out there. Automotive or autonomous vehicles is the buzzword right now, I would say. And the hard thing is to get detected by the OEMs out there or the manufacturers, because there aren't that many of them. So you can't really burn your chances with the company that you want to go into. So for the startup, it's all about the people that we connect them to, I would say, and have the dedicated project leaders that we provide them with. Yeah.
Jonas, you are not backed by any industry partners. Can you talk a little bit about your investors? Who are they, and why are startups joining Katapult?
We got investors in many shapes. We got business angels. We got corporate ventures wanting to be exposed to the startup companies that we work with, but also would like to share our deal flow. We got a massive deal flow, about 2,000 companies that we look into for our 15 seats annually. So it's investors that want to be exposed to be presented for that deal flow, and certainly they're looking for an exposure towards that industry. So you can look at it. They can invest directly in startups themselves, but we're doing this full time with a heavy machinery, de-risking their portfolio. My background is from banking and fund industry, so for me it makes sense to leave the work and the screening and scouting and also working on the funnel, leaving that to us.
Okay.
So they see this as a financial investment, but also as a strategic partnership. They could be venture companies, corporations that want to actively invest at a later stage.
Okay. I think we got one from the audience here. What are 3 good criteria for startups picking an accelerator? Anyone that wants to take that one? Yeah.
I have one, and that's the most important one. I think it's actually to know what you're after when picking an accelerator, because there's lots of them out there, and they provide different kinds of things to a startup. So go into yourself and think, all right, what do we actually need? Is it the industry connections? Is it the business coaching? Is it the mentoring and so on? So that's the most important one, I would say.
Do you guys have anything to add?
We haven't touched upon that, whether or not taking equity or doing the investment, because as an accelerator, I find us taking a space by providing equity and capital as well. So that's your first and foremost. You want to release your ownership and open up for equity investments, firstly, if choosing. And secondly, you need to be aligned with the accelerator and its investors and partners. That's very important for us doing impact. We got partners and network and mentors within that space. We need to see the same alignment from our startups.
Okay. So another one here. Maybe you can take that one, Monika. When is a startup ready for an accelerator?
I would rather reply to the question which startup should forget about Accelerator.
Okay.
I think there are many startups that treat those programs as a lifestyle. And for me, if after one, maybe second acceleration program of this or that kind, if they still think they need third one, then there is something wrong with the team, with the idea, with execution, because it's something to kick things started. And after these 3 intensive months, in my case, they should have hands full of work and like deals to follow up on and have the ball rolling. I think it should be used for snowball effect and not as adding logos.
Could you say that sometimes accelerators can be a little bit of a sleeping pillow for startups.
Definitely. And
Free office space and
yeah,
coffee and
it is. It is. It's definitely a sleeping place. Like what we've done is that we're running a 6-month program, so you can get extended for a year, but that's the maximum time. But a lot of startups, like they enter into different accelerator programs one after another. They burn money and they don't actually get anything out of it. So I think, like, thinking about it, it's more or less going back to the other answer. You need to know what you're after. What do I want to get out of the acceleration program, and find the right one for you, because there's no need to go for 4 or 5 of them. They're simply.
But then let's take 2 questions here at the same. So there's one question when it's like, are some types of startups just better suited candidates for an accelerator program? And then the other question, which I don't think we really got answered, is like, when is a startup ready?
It's a hard question to speak in general terms. Like, I think it's more or less down to the different accelerators to answer that for themselves. In our case, we look at startups that do have a working prototype. They must have a registered company at least, and the thing that we do as well is that we involve our partners in the screening process, in the sourcing process, and also the final decision on who to take in. So for us, it's basically down to, is the tech good for the partners? Do they want to work with that tech? And in the end, the startup needs to have at least 2 of our partners wanting to work with the startup. So that's the basic question for us. Does the party want to work with the startup? And then you're ready. That's the answer for us. But it's not speaking in general terms here.
I think, like, because I've got a different view. Our startups they come from about 2000. They come from all around the world. They have to relocate their operations, their core management team, to expensive Oslo for 3 months.
But the beers are cheap there, right?
No, not really. But then you got very highly motivated people, and they don't see the accelerator program as a sleeping pillow. There's so much energy in the room during the 3 months. Yeah. So I come from a different angle, I think. So we find those very highly motivated. They are ready because they are telling us that they want help. That, like, first and foremost, they want to have help, and they see the benefit of leaving their families behind and sacrificing everything and moving and then participating.
So you can see, like, the more risk and sacrifice there is from the startups, that actually, would you say, the better the outcome is in the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, skin in the game. We're aligned with them as well. We do heavily investments with other people's money. So, very much yes.
Okay. What do you say, Monika? You're agreeing?
I wanted to add one more perspective. What we started doing now, having had some rounds through, it's actually compulsory that people who sit physically in the place and work with the process and meet people and are supposed to make decisions, that they have significant shares in the company. Sometimes we can see that there is a professor with all the shares to the invention, and then there is like 2 team members running around with 3% of shares. And if they are supposed to take any decision, they have to call up the CEO, and CEO is like, yeah, whatever, no. So we discovered that that's not a sustainable model, not something what we can work with. So we say, like, the committed people with the majority of ownership have to be here, involved, all in.
Okay. Claes?
Yeah, I wanted to add to what Jonas said, like the skin in the game and the sleeping pillow theme, because, like, when you enter into an accelerator, you probably get as much out of it as you put in. Like, it's up to you to actually do the work. It's not about the accelerator to do the work for you. So I think that's a important thing to remember in like talking about the skin in the game. It's very, very important, and it's the same for us because we don't really do the actual, like we don't have 20 things that you have to move through when you go through our program. It's up to you what you want to do.
Okay, well, I want to end with some more sensitive questions, because like accelerators have been around now for I think 6, 7, maybe 8 years. Have developed a lot over time, as you guys say. There is not one type of accelerators; they come in many shape and forms and so on. But could you say like is there still a need for an accelerator? That could also be a question. And can the startups get something that is like similar to what they get for an accelerator, but not necessarily has to be accelerator program?
I can maybe start off there. If it's a need of an accelerator, we can ask Dropbox or Airbnb if they really appreciated being in an accelerator. I think, of course, who doesn't want a lot of office space, legal help, be introduced to partners, potential investors, potential clients from minor investments from their side. I really think that accelerators should take their place in the ecosystem to connect partners, corporates, other VCs, other investors with good startups. That's pretty much what we're trying to do here. Connect the capital with the good startup and able to define it.
So back to the actual original question of this panel, like the role of an accelerator, is it like a connector of the whole ecosystem?
We think so. That's our vision, and that's what we're trying to do up north.
Okay.
but yeah,
More north than here.
But really, yeah,
Okay.
take that place and pay it forward, because it really makes sense, because it benefits us if we're a program that people can look at and we introduce not only positive impact through the 3 months, but throughout the whole lifespan of the company, and what will happen after. That's really something that I think accelerators should focus more on. We're working a lot on that. Yeah.
Monika, last question. What is the future of accelerators?
I don't like thinking of Business Acceleration Academy as accelerator. I think of it as a resource platform. We have done our research. What is it that startups lack? There is something on funding. There is something on outreach, on experts involved. And we kind of moved from like very fixed program with some classes and checkpoints to very hands-on support. And once we put it all together, it just magnifies the effect. So there is plenty of like hours together with the teachers on regulatory, on clinical, on legal, and they have accountants who do their business just to take those barriers out of the way. And one team might need it now, but one team might need it week 10. It's just a lot of resources in one place, and us helping them to navigate around it.
Okay, Claes, last comment.
Yeah.
Are your accelerator going to be around for the next 5 years?
Mine is absolutely. I hope so, and I do think there's a space that accelerator can fill, because you're always going to have problems with a startup if you haven't done them before. Maybe if you're a serial entrepreneur and have done many startups, you're probably better than I am. But like if you're looking at what we're trying to do, there's always going to be a value in connecting smaller startups with the large industry partners. I truly believe that, and the edge that we do have is that we want the partners to collaborate amongst themselves as well. So I just wanted to take up a question from before. I saw it up on the board, but it got lost. So, like, what do the partners actually get out of our accelerator? Well, it's the like Volvo Cars, Ericsson, and Ingenuity together work with a startup to find a new solution, do an innovation or something. So I think that's the value for the partners, and that's why we're going to be here in the future as well.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys, for joining.
Thank
you
you
for sharing your insights.
Thank you very
and
much.
Thank you for you guys to staying along to the last panel here. Yeah, enjoy your second day.
Thank you so much, guys. That was an awesome note to end on.